Hello, welcome back to the YarnNYarns YouTube channel. My name is Angela and all the places you can find me should be linked in the description box below this video. Welcome to day 8 of our 12 cast ons adventure. It's a beautiful sunny day here in South Wales today. I can see some blue skies out of the attic window. It's very blustery though. We've had some very strong windstorms in the last few days. So yeah, although it looks beautiful, I know it's going to be freezing cold out there, but I'm desperate to get out for some fresh air, so I will certainly be doing that later. I'm hoping to take a walk down to the beach, so of course I will take you along with me. Today I am wearing my YarnNYarns sweater, and this is a Rowan pattern, and it's knit in Rowan Valley Tweed, which is my all-time favourite yarn. If I had to pick one, it would be the Rowan Valley Tweed. I knit this, I think, about 7 years ago now. I have worn it at least once or twice pretty much every week all throughout the year since I made it. It has barely peeled. I have had to do a repair to it, or actually 2 repairs. I had to replace the cuffs on both sides, and this morning as I put it on I managed to rip the cuff again. That was entirely my fault. I just managed to catch it. It's not particularly delicate yarn, I'm just a extremely clumsy person. So at some point I'm going to have to re-knit this cuff again, but given the amount of wear that this sweater has had, a repair or 2 here and there is by the by. I don't think it's a reflection on the yarn at all. As I say, in fact, this is the sweater that's held up to the most abuse, if you can call being worn a lot abuse. In my wardrobe. This colour of Rowan Valley Tweed is sadly now discontinued, but they still do have other beautiful colours in the range, some of which, little plug, are available on the YarnNYarns website. You find a link to that below. Okay, shameless self-promotion over. Let's get to rolling the dice and finding out what I shall be casting on today. Okay, the dice has spoken and it's number 1, and this I think is pretty much the only project I can remember what is actually on the card, so it's not a surprise for me today, but I'm really excited because it's one of probably the 3 projects that I really wanted to get on my needles. Like, if I had to pick a top 3, number 1 was one of those, and so far none of them have come up, so can you tell I'm really pleased and excited. So Father Christmas, on the back of Father Christmas is the Skra bucket, and I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly, S-K-R-A bucket, and it's a pattern by the lovely Tracy of Passionate Spinner, and it's basically a knitted project bag using up scraps of yarn. And I've already, a couple of months ago when the pattern came out, raided my leftovers basket and picked out exactly what I wanted to use to cast this pattern on, and was just desperately hoping that it would come up for the 12 cast ons. So let me go and grab my bag, my project bag. So I'll pop a picture of one of Tracy's finished projects up on the screen, and I have in my beautiful project bag here, oops, knocked the table, sorry, which was a gift from my dear friend Jeanette. I have, can you see, tons of orange scraps of yarn. You're not going to be able to see all these, so at some point I will empty them all out of the bag and do a little shot so you can see what's in here. I've got some really sort of small leftover quantities of varying shades of orange. I've got a couple of mini skeins in here. There's obviously some variegated yarn, so not all of these yarns have to be entirely orange. I've even got some lace weight yarn in here, but my plan is to, I think throughout the whole project you hold yarns double anyway, so I'm thinking I might be able to use up this lace weight by holding it double and then holding it with another fingering weight yarn. So yeah, that's kind of potentially on the cards. It just depends on, I think I've got more yarn in here than I will actually need. I've got some larger skeins of leftovers that I'm also hoping to work into this project. In particular, I've got this one here, which is a really precious leftover that James picked up when he went on a business trip to Seattle, and the name of the shop that he got the yarn from is escaping me right now. I knit this along with some other yarn into a beautiful shawl pattern, and it's a singles yarn and there's not much left of it, like in terms of making another larger project, so I really wanted to try and work this into my project today because I think it'll be the perfect use for some singles. There's actually a little scrap of this Valley Tweed which Actually, I might need to keep, I think I'm going to remove this and yeah, put that to one side because I need to repair my cuff. I think I do have some more of that somewhere, so it's not like that is my only scrap of value tweed. I am super excited to get to this project. It's a great stash buster, and as you can see, if I put my yarns back in, I have got a whole plethora of orangey scrappy goodness in this bag just waiting to be cast on. So I'm going to put these in a basket or in a tray so you can see what's in there. I'll add a little shot. I don't need to do any yarn winding or anything like that today, so that's a bonus as well. I can get out and enjoy the sunshine. I won't be casting on down on the beach today because it is super windy, as I mentioned earlier, and I still need to make sure I'm protecting my ear. I feel so much better today, but my ear is still blocked and slightly painful, so I don't want to be sitting on the beach hanging around in the wind too much. Okay, so I've put all my yarns into this tray just so you can see exactly what's in the bag. There's some really lovely leftovers, some precious gains, some good memories from previous projects, and I'm thinking these three, particularly these two, I'm hoping to hold at least one strand of either of these throughout the project. This is some, I think it's some Cascade leftover, which has got all sorts of different colours in, but it's got a little bit of grey in there, which I think going from this one, maybe put this one in between, which is some Patterns Croy, to sort of work one strand of each of those up the entire project for as long as I need to will be great. And then I can bring in all of these little leftovers, just add them in, stripe them in as and when I need to, and see how many of these I can get used up and into a lovely project. The only thing I need to do is find my day 8 stitch marker. Where are you? Oh, there you are. I was lucky, wasn't it? First one out of the pot. There we go. Oh my goodness, it's somehow managed to turn into 5 PM and I still haven't cast on yet. How did that happen? Well, easy done, isn't it? I spent longer outside than I anticipated because it was just a beautiful day. And then I came home and got busy with some bits and pieces and just haven't had a chance to cast on. But the good news is I have the rest of the evening free. I'm planning on getting a takeaway tonight, so no cooking. It's been a week, I can't be bothered to cook. Poor old James has been working and also had disturbed sleep because of my silly germs. So yeah, I think we deserve to not cook this evening, which means I've got pretty much the whole evening free to knit, hopefully. I've noticed that there are some fun videos for me to watch and for you if you want some more 12 cast on content, because Tracy of The Passionate Spinner has uploaded her second cast on video. Caroline of Colourful Creativity has also uploaded her next video, which has got a couple of cast ons, I think, looking at the title. And also Lottie of Enjoying the Journey has also got a hashtag 12 cast ons video that I can see posted on my little subscriptions feed. So I'm going to have lots of fun casting on and catching up and seeing what some other folks have been working on. So I'm still hopeful that I'm going to get a ton of progress on this project. Famous last words. Friends, it's Saturday. We made it to the weekend. Give yourself a pat on the back for that. If you've got the weekend off, I hope you have a nice cosy weekend ahead of you. And if you're working, I hope your work shifts go quickly so that you can get home and get cosy and get knitting. I am here to check in and let you know, as always, the progress on my project that I cast on yesterday, the lovely scrap bucket. But before I do that, I'm going to go through, give shout outs to everyone who's been casting on in the community, and there are still loads of cast ons happening, which is just making my heart really happy. Apologies for any lighting changes. The sun is trying to come out, which is amazing, and I'm recording downstairs in the living room. James is still upstairs in bed, so I don't want to go into the craft room because it's directly above and there are no doors on the craft room, so I don't want to disturb James. He's having a nice lie-in and he deserves it after a week of not much sleep because of my germs. Anyway, Tanya has decided that she needed to go and purchase some new needles so she could continue to cast on, and has started some painting bricks socks for her husband, and is also thinking about starting a new spin to spin up some yarn for some Ovis mitts. And Tanya said she's just in the mood to cast on all the things, so welcome to the club. You're in good company here, Tanya. Mary has started spinning her fibre advent, and Mary so kindly purchased a YarnNYarns fibre advent, and Mary said that she was waiting to open all the packages so she could lay out all the fibres and decide what she wanted to do, whether she wanted to ply some together and all sorts of fun adventures. And she said eventually she hopes to work them into a penguono, which I'm so excited to see that project, Mary. Of course, I have an extra vested interest in that because I made the bats and the rolags for that fibre advent. Pip has cast on her number 5 project, which is a Seine shawl, S-E-I-N-E, and she's using some of her own hand-dyed yarn for that, so that's going to be super special. Julianne has started some toe-up socks in some self-striping yarn, and she said to preserve the stripe she's going to do that true afterthought heel, so she's going to be cutting into her socks at some point, into the tubes that she knits. She said while she was watching the video yesterday, she was working on sleeves for her Calliope sweater and is getting ready to cast on a harvest sweater as a gift for her sister, which sounds amazing. Susan said she thought she'd finished her 12 cast-ons, but when she counted them up, as luck would have it, she's only cast on 11. So she's thinking about her next cast on, and she said she also may be using some yarn that she purchased from YarnNYarns, so that's extra special for me. Dee has started cast on number 4 and number 5, a sugar pine cowl which uses some simple brioche techniques and a warm springs bath mitt, and Dee's going to be using some linen yarn for that. Sarah has finished her Christmas socks that she cast on earlier and has now decided to put another pair of socks on the needles, some pastel rainbow self-striping yarn, which sounds amazing. And she said she's also she's been working on a spinning project and she's trying out a traditional 3-ply for the first time. So she said she's also about to think about plying up the singles that she spun. So I hope you make some amazing yarn that you're happy with, Sarah. Deb is continuing her charity cast-ons with some warm mittens in some nice thick yarn. And she said they will likely be heading out to folks who are refugees from in the Ukrainian war. So Deb's doing an amazing job with all of her charity projects. Kathy, who originally said that she was going to be casting on 12 pairs of socks from Christmas yarn, said that she got to 6 pairs of socks cast on and then got a bit socked out, wanted to change, which I can understand. So has now cast on 3 shawls, Via Hunte, the Colour Craze, and she said she must have forgotten what a slog her first half and half triangles wrap was because she's cast on another one. Nina from the This Old Knit podcast has cast on the 4 sweaters that I mentioned in a video a couple of days ago. She's now also casting on a camellia top, which will be a summer top, a pair of socks in Felici worsted yarn, and has also been inspired by one of my previous videos to pick a random pattern book from her sort of pattern library, and has narrowed down from the pattern book that she picked. She's narrowed it down to 2 patterns that she's choosing between. So I shall look forward to finding out what you decide to cast on, Nina. And Nina says that she's enjoyed that process so much she thinks she's going to do another random pattern book pick, so that's really exciting. Ruth is finishing up her spin from the YarnNYarns advent calendar, again the YarnNYarns Fibre Advent, and she said she's excited to start her next spin, which is for a new pattern from James N. Watts, and I haven't seen the pattern, I'll have to look it up, but she said it's another modular knit, and you might remember that Ruth kindly gifted me the pattern for the Sun Gazer that I started the other day. Tracy has started a Kusa Kofta, which is a pattern by Skein Deer. She says she does need to go and get some new needles, so she's hoping that her local yarn store will have them in stock, but in the meantime is working on some other cast-ons that she's previously started until she can get her hands on those needles. Judy said that she watched the video about the ripple camisole and didn't know that she needed a woolly vest, but has grabbed some drops Nord from Stash and has cast on. And Judy said she also has a goal to make 23 projects for donation in 2023. I'm loving hearing about everyone's charity makes. So those are all the new cast-ons. I did just want to shout out to a couple of other comments. So if you have time, please do hop back to the last video and read Pamela's comment. Pamela made me laugh because she said that my cast-on of the ripple camisole reminded her of a camisole knit that she tried to do previously, and she's put a little story about how her knit didn't quite work out. So if you have time and you need a little chuckle, go back and read Pamela's comment. She's Pamela on the farm. She comments under these videos. And also a shout out to Christy to say happy vacation, Christy. Christy has cast on her 12 projects and is taking some of them away with her to work on while she's on vacation. So I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful time. Okay, so time to share with you my progress on the Scrap Bucket. And I did actually do quite a bit of knitting on this. It looks almost like it could be a hat. Not quite big enough to fit on my big old noggin. But as you can see, I have worked the base of this bag and I have just started. I've sort of finished the increases. You might be able to see a little pearl ridge there. It's a little bit hard in the variegated yarn, but I've started working up the side here. I've probably knit an inch or slightly more than an inch on the side. And this was such an addictive knit. I know it doesn't look like too much at the minute. It's hard to show you when it's sort of crammed on the needles, but it's so much fun. And again, this is going to be a nice easy knit to keep me company, and it's just great to play with the colour and change in your minis as you want. So far I have held one strand of this beautiful yarn that I was talking about in the clip earlier all the way through the project, and I decided, because this yarn is quite dark with some pops of orange and yellow, that I would use some of my brighter mini skeins and scraps to hold with it, because I want this bag to read as sort of overall as orange, and I thought if I didn't hold the brighter scraps then it might look quite dark. And then as I was knitting it, I was like, oh, what if I run out of this and it's only on the base, because as you know, this was quite a precious yarn left over for me, but it's lasting and lasting, and I'm going to sort of get the bottom of the bag out of this. I've still got quite a bit of yarn left as well, so I think I'm going to get at least another inch or so, if not slightly more, out of this yarn before I switch into some of the others. And my plan now, I think, I've got a few other yarns that have got bits of black in them. So I think once this has run out, I'm going to start bringing in those yarns with the black colour, so it sort of slowly fades away from these sort of darker pops of colour into the lighter. And already I would love to make a whole rainbow of these bags. It's always fun, I think it's fun to try and coordinate your project bag with your cast on, your project, but of course we don't all have infinite project bags. I do have a reasonable collection of project bags that I've picked up over the years, but yeah, wouldn't it be nice just to have a whole shelf of these in a rainbow of different colours, maybe a hand spun one as well. I'm just really excited by this, and I think the pattern is very versatile as well. It is written for fingering weight held double, but I think you could definitely follow the pattern recipe and switch out your yarn. So if you're someone who has a lot of DK yarn scraps, you could definitely knit this with just one strand of yarn, or you could hold your double knits double, as the pattern does here, and make a bigger bag, use bigger needles. Aran weight, again, you change up your needle size. Yeah, I think this is a lovely little pattern. Of course, ultimately it will come down to how much use I get out of this, as to how many I want to make, I think. But it's such a great stash buster, and yeah, just loving it so far. The one thing that I did do at the start that wasn't indicated on the pattern was you increase various regular points around the base, and it is quite easy to see where your increases are, although a little bit harder when you've got variegated yarns. And just to make it easier for myself, I did put in markers at the increase point so that I didn't have to concentrate too much yesterday evening when I was knitting. You know, I could just knit round, and when I hit the marker I knew I had to increase, rather than having to sort of look at my knitting and concentrate enough. I was able to just watch the TV, just work on that without having to sort of check on my knitting all of the time. It's going to be another great project for taking out and about, I think, especially as I work up the side of the bucket now. It's just several inches of plain stockinette, so yeah, there we go, another day's cast on done, and another project that I'm a little bit sad to be putting away. I had to once again make myself go to bed last night, and I got to the point where I'd run out of one of my scraps of yarn, and I was like, I'm not joining in another one, I'm going to bed now. Always a sign, as I said before, of a good project, isn't it, when you don't want to put it down. Right, I'm going to sign off for today, and I need to get ready to roll the dice and figure out what is going on the needles for cast on number, what are we on? Are we on 8 or 9? I'm completely losing track. I'll figure it out before I start the next video. Which I hope you will join me for. If you are still casting on, let me know what you're casting on in the comments below. Let me know what you're working on. Have you finished your cast ons? Are you going back to concentrate on some of the things that you've already popped on the needles? Yeah, just let me know all about your projects below. I hope you will join me for tomorrow's video, but until we do get to spend time together again, I hope you get to do some of the things that you enjoy. Great big woolly hugs to you all. Bye for now. Bye.